Welcome back to another episode of Keoni Chats. And for myself, anytime I start on a new journey, I think about the beginning. I think about the people that were there at the start. So for, let's say, this podcast journey, I think about my first episode with Brandon Shimada and how I was able to conduct myself and how I was able to get it released and how it looked and how I've really just made strides since then. So my guest today is Kael Newton. Kael and I co-anchored a episode of Duck TV Sports, and that was actually my first and only episode. Kael has been on a few other times prior, so he's a veteran. He's obviously someone that knows how to be in front of a camera and how to read a teleprompter and do all of those little basic things. So I felt very comfortable being there with him and be able to be a little goofy also. So I was very happy to get him on the show. You know, when he and I were in, let's say, a viewing room, I see him just bouncing around the room, just talking to everyone, having a very fun and going conversation. And it was very, I knew that bringing him on the show and having a conversation with him, it was going to be very easy. It was going to be very smooth, and then it's just going to be very comfortable. So it was an awesome experience for him. And I knew that once he graduated from University of Oregon, that he actually didn't pursue a career in journalism or a career as a reporter or anchor, but instead he became a teacher. So he was able to also take some of the lessons you learned in journalism communications, because he does take a certain kind of personality to be in the journalism, program, where you have to be able to talk to anyone. You have to be able to have a fluid conversation, or at least learn how to ask questions. So he was able to take that and find that energy he was able to harness in front of the camera, and harness that same energy when he was in front of his students. So it's also nice to know that he's a legacy, so meaning that his mom is a teacher as well, or is a teacher, or just has been a teacher in the past. So I'm sure she was very excited to see that her son was picking up that mantle and continuing on. So yeah, we talked about some pretty deep stuff, and I knew that we were going to have a good conversation and it flowed, but I didn't know how in depth we were going to get. So it was very nice to have that kind of conversation with him. So before I send you off to that interview, I just wanted to give everyone a quick update on this, not like mission, but just kind of the month challenge that I set myself on as far as trying different Black-owned restaurants within the Portland area. So last weekend, I was able to try Viking Soul Food, located on the Bight of Belmont, which was also featured on Triple D, Diners, Drives, and Dives with Guy Fieri. Absolutely love that show. So I knew it was going to be good, and then when I mentioned that to some people at work that I was going to try it, they brought up all sorts of options for me to try. So I tried the Police Plate, the Polse. So I'm sorry if I butchered the saying of that one. I also tried the Meatball Plate, and what's crazy is that anytime you hear the word plate, you think there's some sort of carb involved. So like rice, bread, or soup or something like that. But it was no carbs. There were no carbs. Well, virtually no, because the bed of the plate was actually lettuce, and then you had some, I want to say like red cabbage or beets, and then you had the meat, which it was still kind of firm, and then also very sweet, because and probably some of the seasoning, and then also the sauce, which kind of looks like a cranberry sauce you would see on Thanksgiving, or some sort of berry sauce is drizzled on top. And that's where the real sweetness came into play for the plate. So check them out. Bight on Belmont, Viking Soul Food. Very great food. I want to try more of their menu. So at least I'm able to now find some very interesting hidden, not like hidden gems, but hidden gems to me, as in I just didn't know. So very excited. Check out, I did post about it on Instagram, so I think that's how I'll do that going for the next two entries into this little monthly challenge I'm in. So check that out. So to be in the loop when it comes to those kind of announcements, so like let's say this food adventure, or the DC animated universe, or mock drafts, or just any kind of photos, so follow KC Media on both Instagram and Twitter, and the handle is KCmedia13. And then for Facebook, it's Conluke Media. And then I always forget to plug YouTube, youtube.com/Keoni Chats. Subscribe, follow, do all that fun stuff. Also located on all podcast platforms. It really means a lot if if you want to put in some review or at least listen. However you want to. Just honestly, it does matter to me to it's kind of cool to see the viewerships, and it's kind of cool to see how many people like the post that has pertained to an episode announcement. But the real enjoyment is just getting people's stories out there. So even if they only see the clip and then they get excited about it, at least some acknowledgement and some light is being shed on their stories. So very happy with that. So speaking of DC animated movie review series, excuse me. I have one film left to watch. I'm having a hard time finding it, but I think I have another, or maybe one or two more avenues to check, and then I should be good to get that started. And then that should be good to go. So that's again a little bit bittersweet to say that, but it's good to finally have that one off my mind and done on the checklist. So and then the DC or the NFL mock draft. There it is. So still working on that one. Still having a little hard time. It's been really weird to work on a mock draft this year with players that also opted out for the year. So working off the 2019 film, but it's still something it's on my mind. Don't worry about it. I didn't forget about it. So however you are listening to this episode on whichever platform you prefer, or if you would like to watch us on YouTube, I hope you enjoy my chat with Kael Newton. Oh, how things come full circle, fans of the show, where I am about, this will be episode 38 of me hosting a podcast show where I wanted to practice my journalism. And my guest today is my first ever co-anchor for a Duck TV episode, which is a student-run broadcasting station. All full circle. I'm so excited. Kael Newton, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Sundays are a little quiet since the NFL season ended, so it's trying to find things to refill in that empty time. It can be a little difficult.
For sure. Yeah, finding a way to fill the days. I am also very excited to come full circle. That was I looked back at the I think there's an Instagram way back 5-6 years ago, whenever that was. But yes, I'm happy to be back alongside you, albeit virtually.
Yes. I mean, I so I rehashed up the old website that we were required to make while in the J school, and then obviously I was able to polish it up. But our episodes actually stole my website. So
oh man, God. How bad is it?
I didn't watch it, but I just remember our intro was what. It's that time of the week again where two guys in ties tell you all about sports.
Oh boy. Oh man, that's terrible. I probably wrote that. Oh
boy. That was probably the best entrance of any episode that we saw for because that year it got all the same. Welcome back to another episode of Duck TV.
Yeah.
You're just a guy that likes to take a new spin on things. How long have you been having that kind of mentality?
I would say that first of all, I think that's a charitable way of putting it. And I think that mentality is at least part of why I did not go into journalism after college. Although Duck TV was delightful, and I really enjoyed Oregon News and the whole process, and I still gained a lot from it. But I think there's a reason why I didn't go into it, and I think that opening line is part of why. But yeah, I think how did you say it? Taking a new spin. I think that is more just a product of my rapidly, like so many people in our generation, shrinking attention span. I think that I'm more or less just constantly trying to reactivate my brain and keep it at least semi-focused. And sometimes a good way to do that is throwing a proverbial monkey wrench into a conversation or broadcast, as it may be.
Yeah, because those things, it's like, granted, everyone's gonna see it. It's just a bunch of our peers. It's fine. It's not like we're, has 2 episodes ago where I had Mariah Mills on. She was like, "Yeah, my reel from college, I basically burned that to the ground because we're
Oh
not
God,
showing that." It's
I
like,
don't know where my reel exists, if it exists, but I want to put it wherever they put the Ark of the Covenant at the end of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, because
yeah,
no one needs to see that.
wooden crate, big old storage unit, and
Yep,
just the slow
get it
music.
out. Yeah.
I've actually never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, but that scene is just played
Oh,
over and over and over and over again.
it's a classic. It's a classic.
Yeah, I think the Indiana Jones, the Crystal Skull, that one, when I heard about the whole refrigerator incident where he was able to survive a nuclear explosion, I was like, nope, nope.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That is testing the limits of credulity, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I get it. Movies are supposed to make you like forget about reality for at least like an hour, maybe 2 hours. But it's like,
Sure.
I'm sorry, but
That's a step too far.
that's a smidge too far.
Old Harrison Ford in a refrigerator. Yeah.
The fact also, I mean, they could have spun that off of that, like what, Harrison Ford's kid or something like that, or
I
maybe put
mean,
Shia LaBeouf in that position.
yeah, because yeah, that was an odd choice, and he's getting on. Because the thing too, I think the problem that they ran into with that movie in particular is Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford, right? Can't you can't have Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford, but Harrison Ford is very, very old now. So yeah, so I think that's what happened.
I also wasn't much of a Star Wars fan growing up, but I did hear that he reprised his role as for Han Solo in the remakes. So then I heard he got killed off. Spoiler for people who haven't seen it, but like,
Yeah,
I heard he
he
got
gets
killed off.
killed in the Force Awakens. I don't even know if you need spoilers for that because that came out a while ago, right?
I
So
know.
if you haven't seen it, get out of here. Don't be upset.
This is not the episode for you guys. Get on.
Yeah, he gets got by his son, played by Adam Driver,
Mm,
uh, Kylo Ren. I like.
yes.
I actually I have a pretty low bar of enjoyment for Star Wars, where I'm definitely a fan. I'm not like hyper invested like a lot of people. I'm excited for people who are, but like it's not my main fandom or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I'm happy to just kind of enjoy a fun sci-fi movie. I don't need it to fulfill my every wish and dream all the time. So
There's a movie that came out not recently, but maybe like maybe 2019, yeah, 2019. It's called The Dead Don't Die with Bill
yeah.
Murray and Adam Driver. And they just,
Oh, I think I saw a preview for this. Yeah.
yeah, like it's kind of like an unconventional kind of zombie movie where, yeah, I'll see about that. But so Adam Driver, he does make a few little jabs at his time as Kylo Ren in that movie. So
Oh, nice. That's funny.
like I didn't see it, but I knew he was on there because all of the posters and trailers and whatnot. So I was like, it's a smart move, guys. It's a smart move.
Yeah, I like a little fourth wall breaking. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially when Deadpool came out, that one was the one I was
Yeah.
just like, oh.
I
But
rewatched that recently. Yeah.
yeah, like Ryan Reynolds is. I mean, I'll openly admit I have a man crush on Ryan Reynolds because of his humor and also like, hey, chiseled dude. It's like I want to get like that buff.
Dude, yeah, I have a normal crush on Ryan Reynolds, so I get it.
Damn you, Blake Lively.
Yeah,
Damn you.
I will. I'll be happy for Blake Lively, but if I have to fight Blake Lively, so be it. Yeah.
I think he could take her. I think he can take her.
I think she's probably got me on at least height and reach, right?
Yeah,
Seems tall.
I feel like also she has the heels.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
There's something. Yeah, she seems like there's a side of her where she might be able to like beat me up. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, I've never seen Gossip Girl, but like I figured that it has to be
Ooh,
somewhat
good point.
true.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yep.
Now I'm rethinking my whole strategy. Maybe I might leave her alone.
So you and I are about so I'm about 5'7", 5'8". I think you and I are about the same height,
I'm
correct?
a little shorter than you. Yeah.
A little shorter. And I remember seeing an Instagram post where, you wanted to break some barriers as far as dating someone taller than you. How That was my lead in. That's my segue. I got
Some barriers. Yeah.
a lot of practice helps me get really into smooth segues. But how just not just for yourself or in this other partner you have, but just like in general the whole idea of like dating someone that is your height or shorter than you. What are your thoughts on that?
Hmm. Dating someone taller than me?
Yeah, like just
Yeah.
it's different height, either shorter or taller. So
So yeah. So what I would say is, most people are taller than me. So that that simplifies the process somewhat in terms of the selection pool. Um, yeah, I genuinely like that you said breaking barriers. Not because I was thinking of it in that way, but like I will say, like I'm very happy to be a pioneer for all the short kings out there. But no, yeah, like more seriously, a lot of it is just like I think pretty early on in my life, in terms of like maybe late adolescence, I kind of just had a real, uh, talking to yourself in the mirror kind of moment, and was like, look, this is it. We're 17, 18, whatever it was. I think it was in high school. We're not getting taller. This is exactly what we're going to be working with for the rest of life here. So we need to figure out how to maximize the tools we do have. Um, and honestly, just, I think everyone has some level of type, right? Whether people are like, I really like blue eyes or whatever, right? I genuinely just do. I like a tall person.
mhm.
Um, and I do like a tall woman. Tall women are beautiful. And
Yeah.
um and I think that Netflix made a very bad movie about this a little bit. I think it was literally just called Tall Girl. That, I don't know, you might have to fact check that, but I recall seeing it and it was really bad. But I do remember thinking there is some similarity in terms of like the kinship of like growing up short, you get made up, but as a dude, you get made fun of for being short. Growing up tall as a girl, you get made fun of for being tall. So there's some, I think, sort of like maybe psychological trauma that you have in common with those two groups of people. So maybe that's part of it. But yes, that is a very, very long way of saying um, that I'm not sure where or why it came about exactly, but I am dating. I believe the most recent doctor's visit put her at 6'1".
Mhm.
I would probably, I'm happy for her. I think I might quibble with that because I'm like, I'm 98% sure she's 6 foot. But look, man, I'll give her the extra inch. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only been involved with one woman that was taller than me, and it honestly, like, it never really matters the height. It just matters like how you feel about each other. It matters how you make each other feel when you're next to each other, or how you feel when you're not
100%.
next to each other.
I would, yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. Like, it's not necessarily like I want to be really clear. It's not like a fetish or something, right? It's not, oh man, just really like tall people. But but yeah, it's just the basis for all of the relationships that I've had that have been even moderately successful have definitely been, yeah, the connection to the person, like you
Mm,
say, right? And sometimes they just happen to be, like 7 inches taller than you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just putting all those other benefits aside, like, oh, you can grab stuff like on the top of the fridge where I can't.
Oh man, you wouldn't believe, it's terrific. Yeah.
That's what my mom does for, like, let's say Thanksgiving. She's like, "Son, I need your height." And like I'm barely taller than her. Like I'm barely the tallest in my family. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's see what I got here. Oh, there it is. Pulled hammy. That's actually my
Yeah.
ribs, but whatever. But yeah, it's I mean, obviously with COVID world right now, you can't go out into the public, the bars. Now, does obviously it doesn't really cross your mind because you're out there with your person, but did it ever like do you ever think about like how will this look for other people seeing like this kind of
Oh
I was
yeah, hundred
doing?
percent. I um how to say this? I think this. is true for a lot of people. So I think it's okay to just say I am definitely real tied up in myself. I think everyone has a certain level of ego going on, certain level of narcissism, and I think that how we think other people perceive us very much ties into that. So yeah, I'm very aware of like how people are perceiving me, like what I'm wearing that day, who I'm with, whatever. When I'm running, right? Anything you're doing, you can maybe I'll just speak for myself. I can pretend that I'm not thinking about how other people are perceiving it, but I definitely am. So I'm
Yeah.
very aware of, you know, walking walking down the street or whatever
Yeah.
with my very tall girlfriend. But for me, that's much closer to like a flex than it is a thing to be self conscious about. I mean, that's just terrific for me. So
Yeah. There you
she's
go.
she's a terrific person, and she's very very pretty. So it's like, yeah, this is great for me.
Yeah. There you go, man. I know. Like I've seen since college, I've seen some of your photos. You're very bright, and very colorful person when it comes to your clothing. I've seen, I think maybe a bright pink shirt on you, maybe a highlighter yellow.
I can guarantee at some point you've probably seen me in a pink shirt. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Now, uh, so actually, before I dive into that little tidbit, I want to dive into. So when it came to your students, obviously this year you can see them, and then last year, because how long have you been a teacher?
So I was hired last school year. So this is my second year. And it's been a very, very strange 2 years because I got hired partway through the beginning of the year last year. So only really got basically like half a semester of somewhat normal teaching, still kind of figuring out the job and everything. And then we obviously around this time last year started going into what our new reality is now. So
It's true.
it has been a very strange calendar year, but it's been a very, very strange couple of academic years.
So when you got that half semester in, obviously how was it for you to try to make yourself an authority figure when all of these students at that point in their life, they're hitting their growth spurts, or about to they're dominating athletic fields because of their height and their build and whatnot? How was it for you to try to, just set yourself as a authority figure?
Yeah, that is something for sure, right? Because being a smaller dude, and yeah, some of these, because I mean, a lot of these kids, especially by the time their senior year, they're full grown, right? They're big kids, like you say, some of them are athletes at the school, and yeah, they're big, they're full, they're full grown. But I think the thing that I try to keep front of mind for me when dealing with students, because now we are seeing students a little bit again, right? Um, is it's not that you have to project anything in terms of like stature. It's just, first of all, I try to approach students more like interpersonally, right? I try not to be so much of an authority figure. Obviously, in certain situations, you do have to just be pretty straight up and down and say, no, this is how things are going to go, and put your phone away, whatever. But at the same time, I think the best teachers that I had, particularly in high school, were teachers who made you feel kind of welcomed in to the experience and encouraged to engage with the material and the lesson, whatever was going on that day. So I try to trend closer to that, which works better in general and also removes the need to kind of be like a prison guard or whatever, because I am not a very intimidating prison guard.
Yeah, yeah. I remember from college, you were one of the most liked guys. When you enter into that giant, let's say, our viewing room for Duck TV episodes and whatnot, everyone went crazy when you enter, either like high fiving, or you talk to everyone, see you bouncing around all over the room. So I can see you just speaking more to the kids as like a mentor, or as just like a friend, versus being
Yeah,
like,
I think it's easy. It's easy as a teacher because my mom's a teacher. I'm friends. I have a lot of teachers in my life, and I think it's really easy in that role, especially if you've been doing it for a while, to almost sort of dissociate the student from the person. And I totally get why that is, right? You see dozens, if not hundreds, of students, depending on where you are in the school, like throughout the course of a year. you're not going to form intimate connections with most, if any of those, right? Like you're not going to have this um, uh, great connection with that many students necessarily. Um, but yeah, treating them as people, which sounds sort of like uh, derogatory or something. But oh yeah, if it genuinely does help me to think like, hey, you were here not that long ago, right? You know, I'm turning 26 soon. Like I graduated high school 8 years ago or so. So it's a long time ago, but it's also not that long ago. And it's easy to remember being 16, 17, 18, and even sort of acknowledging, yeah, I'm not really full-fledged adult person here, but I am a person and I would like some respect, please. And I think that's what a lot of kids want, honestly. And I think when you show them that baseline level of respect and you don't kind of condescend to them and you treat them with a sort of familiarity rather than the sort of authoritarian distance that a lot of teachers do, I think that does help build those relationships. Yeah.
So without naming any names, obviously, but is there any student that you've worked with these last two years that reminds you so much of yourself that you're just like, oh, this is weird. I like teaching myself.
I would absolutely hate to teach myself. I think a lot of the reason why I have a fair amount of grace and patience for my students is because I have enough recollection of what an obnoxious student I was in high school, and knowing that that didn't come from a like evil place or malicious place necessarily. I was just a 16-year-old boy who was a little a little bit hyperactive and maybe not totally engaged with the material. Uh, so no, I don't know that I have had a student who reminds me a ton of myself. I did have one student who graduated last year who reminded me of myself in that he was clearly very intelligent, and this is not me, breaking my arm, patting my own back here,
Yeah.
because lots of kids are very intelligent. But he was clearly like he knew the material. It was clear like when you could kind of poke and prod and cajole him into engaging with the material, he very clearly understood it and then understood it quickly, but was not performing at a high level. And it was just because he was, well, he had ADD for one thing, and he was just like he was not connecting with him the way the material was being given, and just seeing the different ways that both myself and other teachers kind of throughout the year, um, I guess like kind of adapted to that, and he graduated, was very successful through the back half of that year. It was cool to see that. It was nice to see that level of success for a student who wasn't succeeding in the conventional ways. And I think that that's where I succeeded as well, right? The reason
Mhm.
I wanted to teach English is because of my high school English teacher, who very much was a terrific English teacher, super smart, taught all of the core concepts of English language arts, but did it in a way that was really interesting and accessible for a lot of different types of students rather than a one size fits all kind of mentality. Yeah.
Yeah. And the teaching methodology is probably still evolving to this day. So have you found is this your preferred teaching style, to just really engage, or is there one that still kind of that you've experienced that still speaks in the back of your mind, like, should I actually be like this teacher I had back in high school, or should I just continue being me?
Yeah. I think teaching, like any other job or any other interest really, uh it does, like, practice does make perfect, right?
Mhm.
And I am very early on, right? I'm very much on my rookie contract still. I am just trying to get some minutes and develop the skill set. But no, yeah, I really enjoy teaching, the verb of teaching. I enjoy seeing the moment when a particular concept or theme connects with a student. That's terrific. That's really rewarding to me. Um, but I would definitely say I'm still learning a lot. And I would say, to the question of who I'd like to be more, I would go back to Mr. Cartan, who's that English teacher I mentioned. he had a really, really impressive balance of kind of the energy he brought to the classroom in terms of sometimes a little more reserved, like, all right, we're running through a worksheet on grammar or whatever. And then sometimes we're doing a more wide open discussion about a book. And so there's more energy, a little more animated. That a lot of the, I guess, stage presence part of teaching, almost even outside of just the nuts and bolts, what you're teaching, just how you're presenting the material, the energy that you're bringing. Because on the one hand, you need to be somewhat serious, right? You need to, like you say, you need to be a respected figure, if not an authority figure. And sometimes you do need to be an authority figure too. But then also knowing when to, like, you know, loosen the tie, so to speak, right? And yeah, just have a more open discussion, particularly with English, right? I don't know that this would necessarily be useful in like calculus, right?
Yeah.
But for English, it's such an analytical subject in so many ways, especially on the literary analysis side, that I do think that so many times the best way for students to access that material successfully is to just talk about it. What do you think about it? And then you can go from there. Because where I am landing on a book, especially the books that we're reading in school, is absolutely not going to be where most high school students are landing on it, because I'm going to have the background of, okay, we're reading All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. I've read other Cormac McCarthy books. I enjoy his style of writing. I'm approaching it from a literary analysis standpoint. And that is, by and large, there are exceptions to this rule, but by and large, that's not where my students are going to start out connecting with it. But you can kind of bring them along and show them why, from where they start, even if where they start is this is really boring and hard to read, even talking out and sort of empathizing and say, yeah, I don't always get why he refuses to use quotation marks when people are talking. It does make it a little clunky to read sometimes. Why do you think he does that? Let's figure that out, right? So having a discussion from their perspective and on their terms makes it a lot easier to then access the material from the perspective you're trying to bring them to. And that's something that Cartan did just expertly, where it was almost like Inception, where you came you came into the class not necessarily disliking literature, but very much not having any kind of interest in literature, and then came out with some baseline level of understanding that you almost didn't even know where it came from, because it just felt like I was just having a conversation, and now I like books, I guess. So that's something I'm striving for.
Keoni Chats is proudly sponsored by Vibes Training. So Dylan Vibes is a good friend and former guest of the show. So when I heard that he was taking his talents and starting his own business, and I knew I wanted to help him out as much as I can. So if you go to vibestraining.com and click on the blue button to get registered, it'll prompt you to download the app, which will have a wealth of exercises ranging from 5 to 60 minutes. And equipment wise, you can go as little to just your body weight to as much as some weights and dumbbells and barbells. And but if you don't have any of those options, you can always grab a backpack. Dylan has started to create these workouts with simple things you can find around the house. So like a step stool, you can do some lunges, or yeah, if you have that backpack, you can do some Russian twists, for example. So Dylan is very energetic. He's very ecstatic man. So having him as a personal trainer, and just having his workouts, his crazy idea for workouts at your fingertips, is it's a very intriguing proposition. So the app also includes a place for everyone to track your progress, and also gives you it gives you access to a community that you can either A, share your accomplishments with, or B, get some questions answered. But it's always good to know that you have a support system. So go to vibestraining.com, click on the blue button, and get registered and get Vibes Fit today. Yeah, he put the idea there. Like, you might not like it at first, but now you're thinking about it. Now you're like, I'm going to maybe pick up a book later on in life. Maybe I want to take a break from some screens. That's at least how I got back into reading. I was just like,
100%. Yeah.
I'm on a screen right now talking with you. I'm on my phone. I'm or at work. I'm just like, I'm just so tired. Oh, my eyes.
Yeah,
Uh,
the eye fatigue is super real. Yeah.
and you just said something like you asked that follow-up question, like, what do you think? Like that has been, I think, the question that has been asked, like if the years can have one overarching question, it's like, what do you think? Being able to be on this podcast and talk with you and just really helped me develop that innate ability to ask, what do you think? How are you feeling? And really just dive into more of the mental health of people and just really see like, oh, okay, so Kael feels this way. I do too. What? My God, didn't we just bond a little more?
Yeah.
So mom's a teacher. What does your dad do?
My dad is well, I don't want to push him into retirement too early. Because I was
Oh.
about to say I think he's moving that way, but I don't. Dad, work as long as you want. Um, but no, yeah. So he works in healthcare distribution. It's not terribly interesting, to be quite frank.
Did
It's a little more interesting now, but he basically sells equipment. So
okay, I assume he got his vaccines too.
he hasn't yet, actually. Yeah, because he's just on the sales side. So
Okay. Oh, I mean, you're going door to door, so
yeah.
just
No, he's
saying.
not going door to door. He's remote. Yeah,
Oh,
he's not close. He's good. Yeah, yeah, which is
okay.
good. He's an older guy. So yeah.
So you have the history of your mom being a teacher, and then all these other teachers you had, obviously during school. How did wanting to become a journalist or going to a journalism program come about for you?
So I did originally going into college, and actually through most of college, I definitely had an interest in journalism, particularly political journalism. So I majored in both political science and journalism at Oregon. And I think my original reasoning for that was um, I really enjoyed writing, going back to the English thing, and I enjoyed I guess I enjoyed journalism, like finding a story, writing out a narrative, that all the function of journalism was really interesting to me, and sort of marrying that with the politics seemed like something that was very much something in my wheelhouse. And I think like a lot of people, I just went through college, went through Duck TV, Oregon News, the terrific program there, and I stayed in it through college, obviously through my senior year, and I really really enjoyed it. And at the very least, I did have the thought of um, this is something that I still could utilize. And even if I don't go into this career at all, these are still really valuable skills. And that's what I would say is transitioning from that to now teaching. A lot of what I do in my job now, I have a ton of skills that I gained through those programs, through the time at Oregon. Um, whether that's just the public speaking element, you're talking to people all day every day, kind of what I mentioned with the stage presence, right? Knowing when to bring the energy up and down, that's obviously something that you do a lot of on the broadcast side of uh, journalism, and just having an understanding of language, right? I mean, I'm teaching students how to write and remembering um, the lessons from journalism of keeping things tight, just the functionality of writing, um, are all super useful skills now as well. So I don't know that it was not as aggressive of a pivot from really being engaged and interested in journalism or political journalism into teaching. It was actually relatively, even surprising to me, honestly, a seamless sort of transition.
So you had your own program for Duck TV Sport, or I think just Duck TV, the broadcasting, where you did your own talk show. Was I can't remember the name of it. I want to say some combination of like Last Week Tonight or
It was a pretty blatant ripoff of John Oliver's title, is what I remember distinctly, because I remember saying it as a joke, and we were like, "You just do that. They're not gonna. John Oliver's not gonna care." I think I'm gonna say yesterday's news tonight is
yes, some
that
very
could be fact checked, but it was something like that. It was literally just a like crib of John Oliver's.
I just remember like reading that title. It's like last week trying to follow it, going, okay, so it's
It was
basically.
absolute nonsense. Yeah.
Did you write all the content for that show, or did you just reach out to, like, let's say Deuce to help you out with some stuff?
I wrote some of it. I wrote a fair bit of it. Usually it was me. I don't know if you'll remember Manju.
I don't think I met him.
Yeah. So she was in Deck TV for a little bit as well. And it was actually her project through and through. I was just the loudspeaker. Yeah.
Mm.
So I definitely between me and my contribution and her sort of overarching producer vision, that's kind of how we did it. But I wrote a fair bit of it, and yeah, that was super fun. I haven't thought about that in a while, but that was a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's very unique too, and then it is something everyone sees, or not like the majority of people see, because not everyone watches John Oliver, but
Right.
it's still nice to like see you on that stage doing these same motion and gestures that these comedy talk show people do. So it's like, oh, all right, this man's built for it.
Yeah, that was a good time.
So for your political journalism, you did become a campaign manager for Cliff Newell. Did any of that kind of work translate into the new campaign manager position you had?
Yeah, so I actually originally I was living in DC after graduating, and very much did not enjoy my time in DC. But so I was kind of looking for, I didn't really enjoy what I was doing in terms of my job there. And so I was kind of looking for a way to move on and kind of get out. I had originally planned on going back to DC after the campaign, but then the proverbial one thing led to the other, and here we are. But point being, I came back to my hometown in Nevada City, basically just to try and reset a little bit. And I talked with Cliff, who's the district attorney here, over winter break, because I was planning on coming back anyway. I figured that would be a good opportunity to figure some stuff out in terms of the life stuff. And we had a conversation, and that led to another conversation. And eventually we just had the thought where, he had a pretty small team. Obviously, it's not a huge campaign. It's a district campaign, or rather, district-wide campaign, obviously. But it's not. We're not running for Senate here. So I had kind of said, yeah, I'd love to help out, and eventually help out just became, we'll run the campaign, and we had a small team. It was basically just me, Cliff, and probably 5 other people, plus obviously volunteers. And yeah, that was super fun. It was definitely a little bit of trial by fire, because even at a pretty local level, politics is still a bit of a complicated beast for sure. But I did it. I had a really great time with that. It was very much a thing where did it, glad I did it, will not do it again. Cliff
Done with that chapter.
Yeah, Cliff is an awesome guy. That was his last. He said at the beginning, he said, "Hey, I don't know where you're at with this, but this is the last time I'm running." And I was like, "Great, this is the last time I'm running your campaign, so this is perfect. We have an understanding." But no, it was really cool. We won, obviously, which is the point. And it was pretty close. So that was kind of, in my younger sister works in politics, so I like to joke that she is playing in the big leagues, and I had half a season in AAA. Yeah. So, but it was really interesting experience seeing particularly local politics, because local politics is its own interesting sort of animal, and seeing that from the perspective of being inside it rather than just reading about it in the local newspaper or whatever was very, very interesting. And it was a cool job. Yeah.
You ever watch Parks and Rec?
Yes. And the question you're approaching, the answer is also yes.
Yeah. So for those that have not seen the show, geek going, start watching it. But there's a gentleman that was an actor. Adam Scott played Ben Wyatt, who was a campaign manager for numerous political figures on the show. So immediately that was just like this.
Yep.
This has to be your source material for studying. So
100%. And like the small town politics side of it, and just how ridiculous, like some of the stuff on the show is only like 10% more ridiculous, like how the local folks act, and the stuff when they're like yelling at Leslie or whatever in a board meeting, right?
yeah.
Or a city council meeting. All that stuff, it's like only a little bit exaggerated, man. Local politics is so ridiculous. It's so funny. Um, yeah. My younger sister, speaking of political shows though, and speaking of my younger sister again, she shared a funny observation with me that I thought was hilarious. Is she said, and this is a paraphrase, I don't remember what she said exactly, but basically, people go into politics thinking that they're going to be in the West Wing, and then by the time they're actually experienced in politics, they realize they're in Veep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because West Wing, like they basically glorify. I just remember the only thing out of West Wing that came out of that show was just there are scenes of them walking down the alley with the camera like following them as they take all these
The
turns.
good old walk and talks, man.
Big old
Aaron
walk.
Sorkin loves fast dialogue and walk and talks. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay, I think I know what's going on now. But yeah, Veep, I never saw, but I know of it.
Yeah.
It
Good
was
watch. Good watch. Yeah.
okay. So that one's a little more accurate.
Yeah, it captures just the absurdity of the particularly personal side of politics. Just not to get like political at all, but when people, the funniest thing to me is when people talk about like, oh, the government and the deep state or whatever. I don't even care where you land politically. It's just if you know enough people who work on the ground in politics, you'll understand that, trust me, they are not coordinated enough to do half of the stuff you guys are thinking they're doing. Your conspiracies need to be focused around incompetence, not hyper competence. Trust me.
How much of your research process got improved after you went through this gambit of being a campaign manager?
I would say quite a bit. I do
Let's use that plant behind you as an example. How would you research info about that plant?
this plant.
Yes, the
All
one
right.
in blue.
Okay. That's a great question. My girlfriend gave me this plant, so I would start there. That is a good question though. If you're taking given thing and trying to research back, figure out what it's all about, I would actually use that quip about my girlfriend as an example in that she obviously knows a lot more about the plant than me, right?
Yeah.
So she is, in terms of this particular plant, an expert, right? So I would actually say that is the number one thing I learned through the campaign is know what you don't know, and then talk to people who are smarter than you about that stuff. So if it's a plant and you got it from your girlfriend who's really into plants, talk to your girlfriend. If you're talking about how to organize a campaign event at a local brewery, talk to the owner of the brewery, or talk to someone who has put an event like that together, right? So just understanding the limits of your own experience or intellect or whatever else is a very good place to start with anything, whether you're trying to figure out a plant or what a plant's all about, or whether you're trying to run a local campaign, or you're trying to figure out how to get kids to understand how semicolons work.
Wait, what, a semicolon? I thought that was just like a winky face. Good job, buddy. Good
That's
job.
that's one great way. That's one great way to.
So with this new experience again as a campaign manager, did you find yourself feeling a new kind of like endorphins and new kind of like excitement, new kind of high when it came to like him getting reelected, Mr. Newell, or you just like, I'm exhausted, emotionally, physically exhausted. I just want to put this to bed.
No, it was definitely throughout the process, and then obviously the denouement of winning was a great release. Obviously, just winning is great in general, regardless of what it is. It was new and it was very rapid, which I enjoy. I really do enjoy a lot of stimuli and a lot of dynamism in my life, whether that's professionally or in my personal life. So yeah, I like a little bit of chaos, and politics at every level is nothing if not chaotic. So that was really quite an enjoyable experience from that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I mean, it's not to this extent where I was never a camping manager, but like I remember volunteering for the Eugene Marathon, and I
Oh,
worked basically the place where people check in their bags, and then I would tag it, put on a truck. That was hectic, but I got a new sense of energy. I was like, I could think quicker, I can move a little faster, but it's like at least I know I can work in a chaotic environment, and I can
yeah,
actually show some production out of that.
100%. That's a
How,
good thing. That's a good thing to, learn about yourself, is, how you work best too. Yeah.
yeah. Keoni Chats is proudly sponsored by Cove Hard Yerba Mate. So last week, my guest Josh Mackler is a co-owner of the company, has been gracious enough to become a sponsor of the show and give me my own discount code. So that's kind of crazy for me to say that I have my own discount code, as anytime I watch podcasts or listen to podcasts, I hear them talk about other companies and tell them to use discount codes for the viewers or listeners. So I'm in that spirit now, so very excited. So, hard seltzers were very popular because of their ability to get people loosened up, while also making it very low on the nutrition facts menu. So, low sugar, low calories, low anything else, just low in the right departments. So, for Josh to take the seltzer kind of, not so heavy alcohol industry and spin it to yerba mates, it's a very bold move. So I'm very excited to really dive on into this product, because last week he was still the yerba mates was on shipment, but finally arrived today. So I'm very excited to give it a shot and try it out. And it has some interesting flavors. You have mojito, orange colada, they have a lemonade, and they have a berry flavor. So I'm very excited for those. And so for you to be able to try out this hard yerba mate, go to hardyerba.com, HARDYERBAMATE.com. Then use my discount code of Keoni Chats Cove, KEONICHATSKOVE, and then you'll get 25% off your total purchase. You must be 21 or over to purchase any hard yerba mate from Josh. And please, 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 everyone, please drink responsibly. Yeah. If I want to like try and map out the neurons processing all my thoughts as I'm like doing this, I can, but that's the time for another conversation. So
For
with
sure.
someone, pulling a Kael with someone that knows more than I do, because science never got it.
No, not my area of expertise either. Yeah.
Your area of expertise from going back for what I said earlier about the bright yellow shirts, the bright pink. You've also got a pretty nice closet filled with suits. I love suits. I love the jackets. I love the ties. I love the shirts, pants, and all of that, the whole nine.
Mhm.
So where did this fashion sense come from?
That's a great question. I honestly don't know. Because speaking again of high school to college to now, in high school I was I was like a cross country runner. I did not have a developed sense of style at all. I'm pretty sure most days I pretty much wore more or less what I was just going to wear to practice that day. So it was very much in college. I think it was honestly originally just a function of going to thrift stores, and like Buffalo Exchange was a cool place in Eugene, obviously. They have a few other spots, but there's one in Eugene. And just sort of slowly figuring out what I like. Because I always like bright colors. Pink's my favorite color. Like I do like that kind of vibrancy. And frankly, I think just on a objective level for myself, I just think I look good in those colors, right? It's just for me here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it just came from a personal development, right? I think in a lot of ways, your fashion can end up being a reflection of who you are as a person, right? So as I sort of figured out more stuff about myself as a person, whether that's identity, sexuality, like profession, all the parts of you that make up you. As I figured that stuff out more in college, as people often do, I think the fashion ended up sort of just reflecting that to where now I kind of have a good idea of what I like, whether that's the shoes, how I'm putting outfits together, like how bright we're gonna go on that particular day. Like we're gonna go with the I'll look in my closet right now. We're gonna go with the the, the bright blue bomber jacket, or we're gonna do the pink skateboarding jacket. Like it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of experimenting and seeing like, okay, this works. And if it doesn't, give it to your younger sister. I'm sure she can make it work.
I always consult my younger sister. She's actually in many ways the brains behind any number of aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Very I frequently refer to her as the chief of staff of my life.
Oh, there you
So
go.
speaking to campaign managing, she does not get paid for this. This is just a unfortunate thing she's been saddled with as a person. But yes, she's very much the chief of staff of my life. So frequently I will say, "Hey, does this match with this?"
I've
I'm
actually
actually not that great with that.
I've Googled a few times. Does teal go with brown? Maybe. And then it's like something, I think it was like a giant no. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I'm not great with the matching. I don't know why, but yeah, figuring out the color scheme sometimes eludes me. So Kiera is younger sister's name, and she is very, very helpful with that. So
I think when I found out that brown and black don't go well together, I was like, why? I mean, they
yeah,
look fine. Black goes with everything.
and that's the problem too. Is it looks okay to me, and then but then it's apparently incorrect. So yeah, that's I think I've definitely gotten a lot better with that over the last probably couple of years. Is like also figuring out the balance between how you want to be at work while still being like stylish and yourself and doing fashion, and then when you're like out and about. So that's
Yeah.
another little nuance that you got to figure out.
That's Kael lesson number 5.
Yes.
And I will start putting tally marks. No, I'm kidding. But so yeah, like right now you have on like a blue and white polka dot shirt with a necklace, and your hair. Obviously, you're just on camera with the student, so obviously you had to make yourself look a little presentable.
Yeah, I had to look presentable today. Yeah.
But yeah, the beard. So like you know how to properly put yourself together, at least for cameras, where you
Well,
don't.
and I have to put a disclaimer out too that this is also, yeah, I was with a student this morning, and then in basically directly after this, I'm gonna go meet aforementioned girlfriend's parents for the first time. So we're really we're going full charm effect. Yeah, dude, you're catching me on a very, very important day here. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, hope this still calms you down a little bit. You get to
Oh, dude,
impose a little
I'm
bit.
good. We're chilling. Yeah. but
So,
but yes, the polka dot shirt, the chain does stay on,
mhm,
um, and yeah, you can't see. I've got Nike waffles, and we got a pair of khakis. So I think that
nice.
split the balance nicely. Speaking of the nuance, split the balance nicely between, hey, you should let me date your daughter, and but also like yeah, put put fit together a little bit
I
here.
can look presentable when we're obviously out to dinner, because I know some restaurants are. I don't know how California is, but like at least in Oregon, restaurants are opening up again. So
Yeah, you got like the outdoor. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know for myself, I have, I think maybe top of my head, 4, 5 floral shirts.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I have one cherry blossom. I have one like white leaf. I don't know what color or what flower that would be, but then I really dived into the Hawaiian shirts. So,
Nice.
yeah, and then I'm a front desk person, so we don't have clients coming in, but when they did, they would
Right.
see this guy with a giant flower on his chest greeting me, giving me drinks. I was like, you're gonna
Dude,
remember.
that's like uh welcoming though. I feel like, I see a dude with a nice flower, yeah, nice floral shirt on. That cools me down. I have a
Yeah,
few flowers.
it
Yeah.
works, especially like during springtime. You're like, I'm just wanting to be.
Yeah, see, especially in the springtime, 100%, right? You're matching the foliage around you. There's something to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if people need me at work, I could just dive in and then just blend in.
That's thinking. That is next level galaxy brain stuff there, man. Yeah.
I learned a lot since college, so.
Haven't we all? Yeah.
So you said pink is your favorite color. I didn't know this about you, but you got diagnosed with testicular cancer back in December 2013. How was it getting that news broken to you, and then your processing? Because I, I, I mean, your what 2013 was, 8 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I could
Crazy
do
to think about. Crazy to think about, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're still in your teens. How was
Yeah, I
feel
was
that?
yeah, I was 18. Yeah. Um, it was it's funny because I've obviously talked about this any number of times over the years, and it's like I originally tried to describe it, I think, in a deliberately profound way, or at least a deliberately sort of emotionally meaningful way. And the farther along I've gotten in terms of processing that, because there is a trauma element to that, but processing that, the farther away I've gotten from it too, I've pretty much landed on, yeah, that just sucked. Like I don't have anything more nuanced or profound or whatever. It was terrible. Like, I came to the end of my first term at Oregon, and it was very, very sudden. So, not going to talk too much about the particulars of testicular cancer. I don't think anybody wants that. Um, but it's very fast. It's very fast developing. So it was a situation where I noticed a problem on like a Tuesday, and by a week later, I was having the initial surgery, and then a month after that was in chemotherapy. So it was such a rapid thing that there wasn't actually in the moment a ton of time to react to it at all. It was just, you're not thinking a lot about drowning while you're drowning because you're drowning. Like you are thinking about exactly what's happening at that moment, right? There's not a ton of introspection going on. So it was really, and then even after I was um, uh, cleared, got the bad stuff out of the body and all that. Went through chemo, and then even obviously in the years following that, still was in observation, doing blood work and all that not terribly fun or terribly interesting stuff. Eventually, it was just, this is just a thing I do every 6 months or 8 months, and then you eventually are out of that. And I think I was fully out of observation in 2018, maybe might have been earlier than that. I think I was still in college, so it was around then. So yeah, like by the time I got out of it, it was just, this is a thing that happened. Frankly, there's a lot of good jokes I have gleaned from it. Like finding humor in the situation was definitely a way that I processed it both during and after. But really, it was just a thing where I've had, interestingly enough, not interesting is the word for that, but this year, a couple of my close friends actually also got diagnosed with testicular cancer, which was odd because it was a similar time frame. It was in November for both of them, and I was obviously diagnosed in beginning of December. So something about that season maybe. But it was honestly great to be able to be somewhat of a resource and a sort of a sounding board for those two people in my life. Um, so even if that was the only takeaway, and there's other stuff about learning how I deal with uh, upsetting situations or physical or non-physical trauma. I think that was all really useful. Some of it sad, some of it instructive, but really just, if the only takeaway was being able to be there for folks who are going through that similar process, because it is pretty upsetting, obviously. Uh, that that would be enough of a singular takeaway for me personally. That was a nice thing to be able to do, and that was just obviously this last year. So
Mhm. Yeah, that's what because I assume you have an arsenal of things you can tell them to help them get through this. But for you going through this originally, what was probably the best, I don't know, advice or just the most calming thing someone told you to just keep you getting through this process that still stick with you today?
hmm. That's a good question. I'm pretty sure it would have to be something my mom said. And I say that as a default answer for a lot of stuff anyway. But
Moms are smart.
moms are pretty terrific. I'm very pro mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pro dad,
Yes.
but who still needs to retire, but I'm still pro dad.
Yeah, dad's fine. Dad's fine, but very pro mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is firm. But yeah, I again, this is a long time ago, so I'm not sure what she would have said exactly, but she was very supportive in the sense that I had a lot of frustration with any moments after where I felt that I was behind in life in some way, whether that was with school or running or whatever else. And I think she just did a really good job of saying, hey, like, this is something that happened that you didn't have control over. Here are the things you have control over. Let's focus on those and develop and move forward with those. So I think that would probably be the best advice is just don't get frustrated with stuff that you can't change. Figure out the stuff around that you can't change.
Yeah. And right now with COVID still on a thing, I just tell people, like, I'm gonna make lemons out of this pretty crappy lemonade that's given to me right now, because if I just sit and wallow and look out the window and be like, it'll get better, it's gonna go back to normal, that's not doing anything progressive for me, like emotionally, like mentally and all that. So
For sure.
that is great advice from moms. Shout out to my mom, who's a great listener of the show. Kael's mom, who's I assume going to listen to this also.
Shout out Kathy.
Kathy,
Big fan.
Kathy Kael. Oh, well, your sister's name doesn't start with a K.
No, it does. Yeah.
It does?
Yeah, it's Kathy. So yeah, so I'm Kael. My dad's name is Ken. Mom is Kathy. I have an older sister named Kendra and a younger sister named Kiera. So
Oh
it's
my
all
God.
kids. Yeah.
A house full of K's.
I know,
This is
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
So currently as a teacher still with this school, you also coach high school cross country and track, which you also did in high school, like you mentioned probably like a minute or two ago. When it came to processing all the testicular cancer, how much did you lean on running?
Too much probably because I got hurt a bunch.
Oh.
I I immediately leaned on. I was in the running club at Oregon, which is just terrific. Shout out running club, rec fields, 3 o'clock. But yeah, like that was just a terrific support system through the entire thing. So I'd say that the act of running, I immediately tried to get right back into running, and it didn't go well at all. So that was less positive. But the community around running, that group of folks in the running club, I leaned on extremely heavily both during and then obviously right after. That was some of the best people I've ever met. I met through that club, and that sort of thing very much serves as a pretty good proof point for friends in your life, right? It's pretty easy to be uh, be a friend and supportive and whatever else when stuff's going really, really smoothly. It's much, much more difficult when something terrible happens, whether that's something terrible that's happened to me, or frankly, whether it's something terrible that I may have done. That's not, good people can do bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to say, like, that's when you kind of figure out who your people are, right? Is in the moments of high stress and high pain, I guess, whether that's physical or otherwise. And yeah, so I leaned on running club a lot, and I'm very glad that I did.
Yeah, like when I went through a breakup, I guess it would be last year, actually almost around this time. Yeah, I leaned crazy on not just the drinking and also just watching movies, but yeah, running. It was such a great like physical relief, or not just like a physical therapy, just to put all of these like frustrations and all of these negative feelings I'm having towards this person or situation, just be like, I'm gonna run X amount of miles, and I'm gonna be too tired to think about this, and I'm just gonna feel just cleaned out.
Oh man, yeah, I am a firm believer in the therapy of running. I obviously a lot of times I'll be running for a specific purpose, right? Whether that's training or whatever else, going a specific miles. But there is a very real truism that I have held on to, regardless of where I'm at in my running fitness.
Mhm.
You can always reach a point in running where you're running hard enough that you cannot think about the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Eventually, if you run hard enough, long enough, you're gonna figure out whatever is plaguing you at that moment, because your brain is going to only be able to process the most basic pieces of information. And I've solved a lot of difficult problems just with a good hard run. So
Yeah.
I very much with you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets to a point for me where like I think if I hit over 5, I'm just like just left, right, left, right, left, right. Just make
Exactly.
it. Don't stop, don't walk, just try to finish.
Purifying. Yeah.
Yeah. But you did post something on Instagram where you did run around. I think it was your area like multiple times. And I don't like, obviously it's Instagram story, so it's no longer available for me to check out. But what was the story behind that, if you remember it, or just
Yeah.
kind of
So
give it a try?
I'm trying to think when I first did that, because I did it I think 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And basically I had been running mostly just to run. I hadn't competed in quite a while at that point, and really hadn't been in any kind of like terribly good shape. But beginning of the calendar year, I kind of had thoughts of, oh, it'd be cool to like really like go and train for a like specific race, right? And ended up COVID happening, and so that races did not exist. And so I basically just had the thought, all right, I will just do time trials, basically.
Yeah.
So there was a little loop around my neighborhood that I ran a couple times. So that was a 3 mile. I did a downhill 2 mile, which was super fun. There's a little area where you go up for a tiny bit, and then it's just a dive bomb into downtown, and you're mostly on sidewalks, and so that was super fun. And just doing silly stuff like that, where you're still like it's still, I'm taking it seriously. It is a race, and that I'm running hard and all that, but at the same time, I am also just it is all virtual. And then the last one I did was on the track. I just went to the track and did a 5,000, and that was technically for our local Thanksgiving race, where normally they have the turkey trot, and it's a whole big event, and it's a terrific event as well. So I still wanted to participate in that, and so they had it virtual this year, where you run wherever, post your time, and your post course, post your time and all that, and then that was the culmination of kind of the year's goal. So I did complete the goal. It was just not quite how I had imagined it would have looked at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and then I believe I saw, you ended up with a was it 1550
Yeah,
time?
1550, like 9 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I saw a photo of you posting of like how you stacked up against the other. I think the next person had like 18 something.
Yeah, it was not a terribly competitive race, I will say.
That's hard, man. Yeah, because I signed up for, I think, Shamrock Run, and then I got canceled. So
Oh man, Shamrock, that's a good one.
they sent me like the shirt, the medal, and all that, and I was just like, well, I was gonna actually try a little harder to actually do a little like a longer race, because the last time, the year before I did it, it was the 8K. So I was like, I think I can do 15K. I think I could do it. Not hard. I mean, it's just one of those things like you're running by yourself. It's kind of hard to keep yourself motivated, but with running with others, like
100%. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not the same. I was really happy with that, but it's totally missing a critical element without the atmosphere of a race, for sure.
Yeah. Plus, it's also, I mean, you and I are marathon runners, where we do kind of like the attention. Like, hey, hi, family, it's me running.
Oh, dude, yeah, I am very especially if I'm running well, right? Like, I am very, like I mentioned earlier, I got that nice, healthy narcissist streak in me. I'm very about people cheering me on. Yeah.
That's what I love about you. So I know you got something going on. So Kael, before I let you go, I do ask 2 hypothetical questions from this packet of 170, just
All
to
right.
wrap up my interview with a nice little funness to it. I think as little as you like, think as long as you like.
Okay.
But the first question is not. Maybe that's the question. I thought I lost it, but okay. So the first question: if you could choose any job to be replaced by robots, what job would you make obsolete?
Oh man. That's a good question. I'm gonna say I feel bad because I genuinely don't want anyone to lose their hypothetical jobs.
Let's
Uh,
say that group is able to
they get
relocate
other
to new
jobs.
jobs. Yeah, they'll get other jobs.
Okay, perfect. Now I can do it. Um,
Guilty free, right?
well, in that case, yeah, in that case, I really think I would like grocery store workers to go do something else, and I am actually good with that being just robots. Because I always just like, because the thing too is, I always feel awkward in those situations. I have not, as an adult, at this point in my life, I just have not figured out how to have a not awkward interaction with a grocery store clerk. So if it was a robot, that would really take the pressure off for me. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, also with the mask, you're like, you do a little smirk
Oh
if you didn't
man,
have mask, because
yeah, it's a whole nother layer of awkwardness now.
you try to like smile with your eyebrows, like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, this is already like in some states where like you don't need to have a gas attendant there. You can just pump it yourself. I mean, if robots could do that for me and I just pay him there,
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, that would be nice. Cause
because
I don't want to get out of my car.
plus
Nice.
like with like let's say lines, the lines would go by so much quicker because
That's true.
it'll just be a
Be way
quick,
more efficient.
be
Yeah.
more efficient. That's the word. And
Mhm.
plus, maybe it'll also reduce the price of gas. I would just hate it for be like, oh, we have robots now. Let's up the price for gas. These suckers.
Suckers.
These suckers. So my last question to you: would you want to live in a world where everyone's thoughts appeared as text above their head?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If people saw the thoughts that I was thinking in real time as text above my head, I think I would be fully ostracized from society by this point.
I mean, it looks like you're living in the forest already. So
I'm getting closer and closer every day to retreating to a A-frame cabin in a undisclosed location. Yeah.
near Roswell, right?
Yeah, same neighborhood. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. I mean, yeah, I would say no as well because then I wouldn't have a podcast because then I want to talk to people about their
Right.
thoughts. So then I'm out of a hobby. What the
That
hell,
would make
man?
stuff pretty difficult for you. Yeah.
A little bit, a little bit. Then it's just like it's just too easy. I can't have things be too easy. I gotta honestly have a little challenge.
Yeah. Nice, man.
Kael Newton, where can the people find you on social media?
They can find me. The nice thing about my name being spelled Kael is that I pretty much can just use my name as my handle. So it's just Kael Newton at Kael Newton on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, Kael, the person, Kael, not the food.
Not a leafy green. I am higher in iron though. So.
You see, that's just the perfect line to end on.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the episode. If you like what you heard or watched and would like more episodes from Keoni Chats, the show can be found on all major podcast platforms under Keoni Chats. A video version is available on YouTube under Keoni Chats as well. So like and subscribe on those platforms to keep in the loop as far as the next episode released. But if you would like to be a guest, go ahead and email me your story at kcmedia13@yahoo.com, and I'd love to get you scheduled. To keep up to date with all of the episode release announcements on social media, the KC Media brand can be found on Instagram and Twitter under KC Media 13. And then on Facebook, it can be found under Conluke Media. So until the next episode, everyone, please take care.